Carboxylic acid. Due to the fact that carboxylic acid has the highest priority when it comes to naming functional groups, this is the first one we are going to discuss. To name this functional group, one must first identify the number of carbons on the main carbon chain. In this example, there are 3 carbons, therefore its prefix should be propa. After identifying the prefix, it is time to identify the suffix. The suffix used in carboxylic acid functional groups is oic acid. Therefore, adding the suffix to the prefix propa, the name of this compound should be propanoic acid. To draw a carboxylic acid, one must first identify the number of carbons based on its prefix. In this example, the prefix is eta, which means that there are only 2 carbons on the main carbon chain. After identifying the carbon chain, you are to add the functional group, which in this example is the carboxylic acid. Carboxylic acid structure is always the OH and the O double bond, the structure with the red highlight. Second to the carboxylic acid is the sulfonic acid. To name this functional group, identify first the number of carbons in the main carbon chain. In this example, there are 6 carbons, therefore its prefix should be cyclohexane. Cyclo is added because the carbons form a ring. After this, add the suffix sulfonic acid to the prefix, therefore its final name should be cyclohexane sulfonic acid. To draw this functional group, identify the number of carbons. In this example, ethane corresponds to 2 carbons. Therefore, drawing 2 carbons then adding the functional group highlighted by the red circle, one is able to draw the structure of ethane sulfonic acid.
Third is the ester group. To name this functional group, identify first the longest carbon chain. In this example, 2 is the longest carbon chain. Therefore, the prefix is epha. But due to the fact that there is 1 carbon chain connected to the ester group, it has the highest priority. Therefore, the name is now methyl epha. Adding the suffix noate to the incomplete name, the complete name for this compound is methyl ethanoate. To draw this functional group, identify the longest carbon chain using the prefix before the ester suffix. In this example, epha is the prefix. Therefore, 2 is the longest carbon chain. After this, add the ester group. Due to the fact that there is an ethyl in the name, connect the single bond to the oxygen without the double bond. Congrats! You now have successfully drawn an ester structure. Fourth is the acid halide. To name this functional group, identify the longest carbon chain first. In this example, 2 is the longest carbon chain. Therefore, its prefix should be epha. Then, identify the halide. In this example, the halide is the chlorine. After doing this, add the suffix of the acid halide group to the prefix. The name should be then ethanoyl chloride. Chloride is its name because of chlorine. If it is bromine, it would become ethanoyl bromide. To draw this functional group, identify the number of carbons first. Due to the fact that in this example, propyl is the prefix, 3 is the number of carbons present. After doing this, identify the halide, which in this example is chlorine because of chloride. Afterwards, add the acid halide group to the 3 carbon chain. This is the structure of the example propanyl chloride. Fifth is the amide functional group. To name this functional group, identify the longest carbon chain first. In In this example, 2 carbons is the longest carbon chain. Therefore, its prefix should be etha. After naming the prefix, add the suffix amide. The final name of the structure is then ethanamide. To draw this functional group, identify first the longest carbon chain based on the prefix of the name. In this example, propa corresponds to 3 carbons. After drawing the 3 carbons, add the amide group. You have now successfully drawn an amide functional group.
Sixth is the nitrile group. To name this functional group, one must first identify the longest carbon chain present in the structure. In this example, 2 is the longest carbon chain, therefore its prefix should be eta. After identifying the longest carbon chain, add the suffix nitrile to the prefix. Thus, the final name of the structure is ethanonitrile. To draw the structure of this functional group, identify the number of carbon chains based on the prefix of the name. Propa corresponds to 3 carbons, therefore 3 is the longest carbon chain. After drawing the 3 carbon chain, add the nitrile group. You have now successfully drawn a nitrile group structure.
Seventh is the aldehyde group. To name this functional group, identify first the longest carbon chain found in the structure. In this example, 2 is the longest carbon chain. Therefore, the prefix is etha. After finding the prefix, add the suffix -al. Therefore, the final name of the structure is ethanol. To draw this functional group, identify the longest carbon chain based on the prefix of the given name. In this example, buta is the prefix, therefore 4 is the longest carbon chain. After drawing the 4 carbon chain, add the aldehyde group. You have now successfully drawn the structure of an aldehyde group.